The movie begins in Berlin in 1989 during the Peaceful Revolution, which marked the beginning of the destruction of the Berlin Wall. A British agent named James Gascoigne is on the run but is caught and mercilessly killed by a KGB agent named Yuri Bakhtin. After the murder, Bakhtin steals a special watch that holds the list, a record of MI6 agents on both sides of the Berlin Wall. The list also contains a crucial secret highly sought after by MI6, the identity of Satchel, a double agent who betrayed Gascoigne and has been leaking secrets to the Russians. The list was given to Gascoigne by an informant codenamed Spyglass, who had been promised protection by MI6 in exchange for his cooperation. We learn that the list has the potential to prolong the Cold War by another 40 years, making it a target for all governments. The scene then shifts to London, 10 days later. Lorraine, a top-level spy for MI6, is shown taking a cold bath. She looks at a photograph of Gascoigne before heading out. Their relationship isn't fully explained, but it seems they are connected in some way. Lorraine gets dressed and heads to the MI6 office. She has recently completed a mission and is there to give her a report, as spies typically do after completing an assignment. While in the interrogation room, MI6 executive Eric Gray and CIA agent Emmett Kurtzfeld ask her to recount everything that happened in Berlin. Her report is recorded, and Lorraine begins narrating her story. Flashback to 10 days earlier, Gray and Kurtzfeld brief Lorraine about a mission. Gray tells her that Gascoigne was killed the night before and explains that a Stasi officer named Spyglass had a secret list containing the names of undercover agents from MI6, the CIA, and other intelligence agencies, including double agents hiding within MI6. Spyglass hid this list in a watch and gave it to Gascoigne, but the KGB killed him and took the watch. Lorraine is then tasked to go to Berlin on a mission to retrieve the list and eliminate Satchel, a double agent who has been leaking intelligence to the Soviets for years and was responsible for Gascoigne's betrayal. MI6 is after the list because it might finally expose who Satchel really is. They had promised Spyglass protection in exchange for the list, but now it is missing, and Spyglass is in danger. Before leaving, Gray briefs her about David Percival, an MI6's top agent stationed in Berlin. Percival has been living in Berlin for years and knows all the doormen and key players around the city. Gray adds that he is her main contact for completing the mission. Meanwhile, in East Berlin, Spyglass reaches out to David Percival to let him know he handed over the list to Gascoigne. Percival, however, declines to assist Spyglass, since Gascoigne is missing and the list hasn't been recovered. Spyglass then reveals that he has memorized the entire list. Suddenly, the police arrive, forcing everyone to scatter. Amid the chaos, Spyglass escapes, vowing to meet Percival later. Upon arriving in Berlin, Lorraine is picked up by two agents. However, she soon realizes that they are KGB agents connected to arms dealer Alexander Bremovich. Acting quickly, she uses her heels to attack one of the agents and knock him unconscious. In the ensuing fight, the car overturns and leads to an accident. Fellow agent David Percival arrives at the scene just in time to rescue her. Meanwhile, we see a mysterious woman spying on Lorraine while she drives away. Inside the car, Percival claims he has never met Spyglass, but Lorraine gives him a suspicious look. He then drops her off to her hotel room. The scene cuts to East Berlin, where Bremovich is torturing some informants who have failed to gather information on Bakhtin. He is also after the watch containing the list and is aware that Bakhtin is desperate to sell it. Later, Lorraine tries to retrieve Gascoigne's body but is unable to because of a document issue at the morgue. Frustrated, she returns to her hotel and takes a cold bath. Suddenly, she feels someone's presence nearby. Instinctively, she grabs the intruder and disarms him, only to realize it's Percival. He stays calm, making no moves to fight back, and casually remarks that she might be in Berlin longer than she originally planned. Following this, Lorraine visits a watchmaker. She requests a watch that can get access to a network in East Berlin. The watchmaker promises to have it ready by the next day. Lorraine then heads to Gascoigne's apartment, hoping to uncover some clues. Her search turns up little, except for a photograph showing Gascoigne with Percival, which deepens her suspicions. Before she can dig further, KGB agents storm the apartment. A fierce fight ensues, with Lorraine taking down the attackers one by one. Even when two cops show up during the chaos, Lorraine takes them out too. Thanks to her quick moves, she walks away from the scene without a scratch. She soon realizes that Percival is the only one who knows she is going to the apartment. This makes her suspect that Percival could be Satchel. Lorraine heads back to her hotel room and equips herself with hidden listening devices. She then visits Percival again and confronts him about the photo she found in Gascoigne's apartment. Percival eventually admits to knowing Gascoigne and suggests she head to a restaurant to learn more about the list. During her investigation, Lorraine goes to the restaurant to meet a Russian agent who supposedly has information about the list. However, KGB agent Bremovich interrupts her and questions her motives. Thankfully, a French agent named Delphine Lassalle steps in to help Lorraine. Delphine, who has been spying on Lorraine, gives her an address to contact her if needed. Little do they know, Percival is secretly watching their interaction. Later, Lorraine retrieves the special watch from the watchmaker. Unknown to her, Percival has been spying on her to listen in on her conversations. Lorraine then returns to her hotel room and discovers that the watch contains encrypted data, including a map marking the locations of informants. The next day, she heads to East Berlin, crossing the border carefully. She is warned by the officers to return by 6 p.m. or face arrest. Meanwhile, the KGB learns of her movements and Bremovich orders his men to capture her. A violent fight ensues at a movie theater, where Lorraine kills her attackers and continues her mission. After successfully evading her followers, Lorraine heads to the top of a rundown building and finally meets her informant on the east side. He briefs her on the current situation on this side of the wall, starting with how the mysterious satchel has both MI6 and the KGB on edge. The scene cuts to West Berlin. Bakhtin, the KGB agent who initially stole the special watch from Gascoigne, visits the watchmaker and tries to find buyers for the stolen watch. Meanwhile, Lorraine heads back to her hotel room and goes through all the conversations recorded by her hidden listening device. She then recalls her encounter with Delphine and decides to meet her again at a bar. There she gets close to her in an attempt to extract information. Elsewhere, Percival tracks down Bakhtin and kills him with a screwdriver, claiming it was for Gascoigne. He takes the watch and keeps its secrets to himself. Returning to his apartment, he secretly examines the list hidden in the watch and tries to uncover the identity of Satchel, the double agent. Later, David contacts Lorraine and arranges a meeting. He doesn't reveal that he has the list but tells her that he met Spyglass, who has memorized all the names on the list. The scene cuts to the present day in the interrogation room. Lorraine's CIA interrogators reveal that Percival later called to say he had the list and was close to discovering Satchel's identity. Lorraine grows frustrated and questions her superiors. She wonders why she wasn't informed earlier, as it could have prevented further complications. Flashback to the story, Percival meets Bremovich, the KGB agent, and proposes eliminating Spyglass to maintain the balance of power. The next day, David takes Lorraine to the east side to a safe house where Spyglass is hiding. Since MI6 has promised Spyglass safe passage out of Berlin in exchange for his help, they are helping him cross the border. With the help of Lorraine's informant, a new passport is created for Spyglass as part of the plan. They also change Spyglass's appearance, starting with shaving his beard and making him wear communal clothes. Meanwhile, Percival disguises himself as a city guard and hires a woman and child to pose as Spyglass's family. Outside, East Berlin is in turmoil, with protesters flooding the streets and shouting for change. Lorraine decides to use the chaos to smuggle Spyglass across the border. As they move through the crowd, KGB snipers attempt to shoot Spyglass from nearby rooftops. To confuse the attackers, Lorraine's informant signals a whistle, prompting the crowd to open umbrellas and create a distraction. Amid the confusion, Percival betrays the team by secretly shooting Spyglass and injuring him. Lorraine then helps Spyglass to a building where they can hide for a while. However, multiple KGB agents show up below and attempt to kill them. Lorraine then battles waves of attackers inside the building while also getting injured during the process. She asks Spyglass to find alcohol and rags to stop his bleeding and prepares to take down one last attacker. They get into an intense battle, with Lorraine stabbing him multiple times and leaving him defenseless. She then escapes the building in a police car along with Spyglass. However, the last attacker, although beaten to a pulp, follows them and climbs over their car. Lorraine shoots him in .0 and then crushes him with the wheels. She then asks Spyglass to wear his seatbelts as she speeds up the car to evade the KGB pursuers. After a moment of cat and mouse chase, Lorraine successfully outsmarts them in an intersection, causing their car to crash and explode in a fireball. She and Spyglass take a break near a river when suddenly, their car is rammed by another vehicle. As the car sinks under the water, Spyglass is trapped inside and tragically suffocates before Lorraine can save him. Lorraine swims up to the surface, where her informant arrives to rescue her. She then realizes that someone on her team is leaking information about her. She tells her informant that the KGB knew about her plan. She then asks him to smuggle her back to West Berlin as she is determined to uncover the traitor. Back at her apartment, Lorraine searches for the bug that's been recording her conversations. It then hits her that Percival had taken her coat when she visited his apartment earlier. When she checks the coat, she finds a French UHF transmitter. She realizes that Percival planted the device but made it look like Delphine did. Just then, Delphine shows up at the door and Lorraine tells her that Percival is trying to set them up both. When Delphine returns to her apartment, it is revealed that she has been working for Percival all along and spying on Lorraine under his orders. But Percival double-crossed both women. Later, Delphine confronts him over the phone, threatening to expose his secrets. Turns out, she had also been spying on him and had photographs of him meeting with KGB agents. Delphine then writes an envelope addressed to Lorraine, containing evidence against Percival. Percival, however, realizes the threat and goes to Delphine's apartment. While masked, he attempts to strangle her, but she manages to unmask him and stab him in the back. Although injured, Percival hits her with a telephone and slams her against the floor. Delphine refuses to back down and attacks him with a knife again. However, this time, Percival gains the upper hand and strangles her to death before she can answer Lorraine's call. It becomes too late when Lorraine arrives at the apartment and sees Delphine's lifeless body. She discovers the envelope and learns that Percival has been secretly working with the KGB. While the East Berliners are celebrating the destruction of the Great Berlin Wall, Percival returns to his apartment, destroys all the evidence to cover his tracks, and burns the whole place. In the envelope left by Delphine, Lorraine finds photographs that Delphine had taken. Using these, she tracks down Percival, who is trying to flee the city. She tells him he shouldn't have killed Delphine. In their tense confrontation, Percival admits to sending KGB agents after Lorraine, revealing that he knew her little secret all along. When Lorraine presses him about the watch, he denies having it, claiming it's on its way to MI6, where it belongs. But Lorraine sees through his bluff and swiftly takes the watch off his wrist. She challenges him, asking if he is really going to lie to her until the very end. Percival then responds that in their line of work, the difference between truth and lies doesn't matter. Lorraine, however, sharply counters that they both choose to ignore that difference and then addresses him as Comrade Satchel. He taunts her, asking if this is how she plans to handle it. With a cold smile, Lorraine recites a line from one of Percival's favorite books, "It's a double pleasure to deceive the deceiver," before shooting him dead. In the present-day interrogation, the MI6 and CIA officers accuse Lorraine of killing Percival, their top agent, who was also the head of the station, and an officer of the Crown. However, Lorraine tries to convince them that Percival was Satchel, the guy they're looking for. Gray demands proof of her claims. It is then revealed that Lorraine had been secretly spying on Percival, recording his conversations and tracking his every move. She plays the recordings for her superiors and presents the photographs as evidence. She also informs them about Percival's double dealing. When they ask her about the list, Lorraine just denies knowing where it is. The MI6 officers are convinced with her story, so they wrap up the interrogation and commend Lorraine for her work. They tell her to forget this conversation ever took place. As they're about to leave, she smirks and asks what she should wear for her tea with the Queen. However, the story doesn't end there. A few days later, Lorraine travels to Paris and meets Bremovich, the KGB leader. She brings the list hidden in the watch and reveals her true identity. Turns out, Lorraine is Satchel, the double agent working for KGB and MI6. Percival had discovered her secret, so she had to kill him to keep herself from being exposed. Bremovich, planning to double-cross her, takes the watch inside and orders his men to kill Lorraine. But Lorraine had anticipated his betrayal. She had come prepared, hiding a gun in a block of ice. Using the weapon, she swiftly eliminates Bremovich's henchmen. Just before finishing Bremovich off, she explains that she had been orchestrating everything from the start. Lorraine further reveals to him that she never worked for him. Instead, he worked for her. She had been feeding him false information to deceive the KGB while he was giving critical intel on MI6. Before long, she shoots him in the head and exits the building with the help of her informant. In the next scene, Lorraine is escorted to a private jet, where the CIA agent Kurtzfeld is waiting for her. They are planning to return to the United States with the list. During their conversation, it's suggested that Lorraine is actually a triple agent who has been working for the CIA from the start.